Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Ride Superpig. This board features Ride's extra camber, which is a setback directional cam rocker, so you get rocker in the nose, then camber throughout the board. That rocker in the nose is going to give you ease of entry in and out of turns, as well as more optimal powder flow. But with that camber dominant section through the middle, you're going to get more power and drive out of that tail. So think of it as you're going to get more pop, more snap, and when you're on edge, you're just going to be able to rail that carve a lot harder. I rode this board at Arapahoe Basin on a sunny, mostly bluebird day. Warmer temps, there was chop chunder, slush, a little bit of ice in the shade, some death cookies here and there, and I rode it with my K2 Thraxis boots and my Rome Black Label bindings. So the overall flex of this board comes in just a hair past middle of the road, and it is fully directional. That means softer nose, especially where that rocker section is, then it stiffens up right as it hits the camber and progressively gets stiffer back through to the tail. You're gonna notice that there's a little bit of torsional flex to this, but not as much as in years past, just due to the construction changes with that slim wall. It just feels a little more torsionally rigid, which equates to more power when you're driving it on edge. When it comes to the stability of this board, the width is really what does add to that. You just have more width on this board. You're gonna get a little chatter in the nose, and that will resonate back under the front foot, but that camber section through the middle back to the tail does a great job of plowing through chop. It really doesn't get rocked as hard as other boards out there, and it keeps it very smooth and stable. Like I said, you're gonna get a little chatter in the nose. You'll feel that slightly under the front foot, but under that rear foot, you're pretty much not gonna feel anything. When it comes to popping with this board, if you know how to load up camber, you're not gonna have a problem with it. If you're coming off like a Warpig and you're used to more skate-like pop, you're gonna have some issues. You have to load up that camber section, and when you do, you're gonna feel that rebound and it wants to snap. What you put in is what you're gonna get out of it, but it does take a little bit more effort. This board will launch a side hit, a roller, cat track gap with ease. So when it comes to buttering on this board, you've got that huge amount of rocker in the nose, and that's the sweet spot. You're gonna be able to do nose rolls on this thing. You're gonna be able to pop 180, really press into it, and feel it lock in, and still have rebound to snap out. On the tail, it takes way more effort, and when you get sideways, it's gonna fight you. You just have to be prepared that you're gonna be manhandling this to just get what you want out of it. When it comes to carving, this is truthfully where this board shines. You have that carbon slim wall, and that just creates a thin ridge, so when it's on edge, it's distributing more power down into that carve, and you can feel that from the center of the board back through the tail when you really drive that carve and snap it out of a turn. This board locks in and just lets you lay a trench, hold it till as long as you want it to, and then disengage as you transition back over to the other edge. It can be a little sluggish edge to edge at first at slower speeds, especially if you have a smaller boot. I have a size 10, so I don't really encounter that too much, but I do notice that it's not as quick and nimble as other boards in this category, but when you're at speed, you never really notice it. Overall, this board can turn, and I think adding that slim wall to this board really does change the dynamic of how much power goes down into the edge. Who's this board for? Someone that wants a beefier Warpig with camber in that volume shifted category. I'm glad I was able to get on this board now that it's got the carbon slim wall in there. It changes how this board rides. It feels stiffer, and it feels like it's lost a little bit of that torsional flex, but really what it's doing is it's not letting as much power dissipate through a regular sidewall. It's putting it down into the edge to give more power, to give more contact, to give more drive. This board can rip a turn. It's snappy, it's responsive, it's a great volume shifted board if you're gonna be riding chunkier terrain, something that's really lumpy, maybe heavier wet snow, versus say like a Warpig, which is gonna be a little more loose and not as forgiving. Comparable boards, the Rome Stalefish, the Nidecker Mosquito. Binding recommendations, the Ride A8, the Rome Cleaver, the Union Atlas. This has been my review of the Ride Superpig. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you own one? Are you going to buy one? Leave me a comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this snowboard. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not going to miss any of the videos we've got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really like what we're doing over here and you want to support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video.